All right, let's do the clap.
Nope. This is a cold open, or, if you will, a bold open, because I know the title of this movie already, this episode.
Nope, because I know the title of it,
it's Return of the King.
Yours?
No. The title of the episode is Denethor's Cuck Chair.
What?
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Okay, I will... No, not. I'm going to let you explain that when we get there. But let's do a clap real quick.
Okay. All right, let's do the clap.
I want to know what the hell is going on.
3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
And I was just going with this is where the entire DC universe got its idea for the way the plot should go.
The two giant CGI battles.
Crazy battle, crazy battle, crazy CGI battle, crazy CGI battle. 1,500 endings.
So
War Pigs. Ozzy Osbourne sings the soundtrack to this.
Just to clarify, I'm talking about his little steward's chair that's at the bottom of the king's throne, where Denethor has to sit.
Right, but what's it watching?
Oh yeah.
He has to sit in a little cuck chair for his entire...
It's the upcoming cuck chair. It's like he's got to sit in the hotel room and wait for the date to end, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody's there for it. He doesn't actually watch anything, but he does get off on some weird food porn.
Now you have to title it like that, otherwise you'll make me look like a fool.
You dumb bastard.
Oh, that would be unfortunate.
Yeah.
That would be horrible for Editing Kelly to make you look like a fool.
And if Editing Kelly does do that, he should drop previously, right when I say that, a little Obi-Wan Kenobi saying you have done that yourself. That's the only way I'll be okay with it.
Or who's the fool, or the fool who follows the fool, foolish, fool.
Fool.
Like, I love that quote in the movie, but the manner of time, how many times he says the word fool irks my brain a little bit. Who's the fool, or the fool that follows the foolish fool?
Day 97. We are still talking about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
All my family has wandered away from me in their lives and social aspects.
I see the two Dr. Manhattan memes, both. The one of, like, the year is so-and-so. I'm watching Lord of the Rings for the podcast. The year is so-and-so. And the other one is Manhattan looking at a picture of Sam and Frodo and saying, I tire of these people. I tire of these things. Of their lives.
Yeah, the tangle of their lives, yeah.
Yeah, like you could tell, God bless. Now, first off, if you're expecting a glowing review of Return of the King, you'll probably get one at some point. But, there was a huge, you could tell that the director and everybody involved with this were so in love with them doing the production, and they had such a good time. And this ending shows it. And anybody that's been in a stage play or a show or anything like that, you know the feeling like the last day of your show, everybody's weepy and everybody's hugging and everybody's exchanging gifts and phone numbers and stuff like that. There was one comment about how the last scene that they actually filmed was Frodo and Sam, and where Frodo says something about the book, and he says, "Yeah, the last pages are for you to fill," or something like that. And the line is that they did this scene like 30 times or something because Peter Jackson was just not ready to end. Because they knew that was the final day.
Oh, right. So do
filming.
it again. Yeah. Cut. Do it again.
Yeah. And the cast and crew were
Sam.
actually totally fine with this. Yeah. And every time he would say, let's do it again, they'd kind of cheer. And then eventually when he said cut, everybody started crying and hugging, and it was a huge thing. And I'm not trying to mock them for how much they loved making it. But
hey, that's the way the movie itself ends. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, art imitating life, imitating art, because goddamn did this movie lean into the fact that you're going to miss us. You're going to miss us a lot.
Let me tell you, they cut out like four-ish other endings from the novel that they didn't they didn't film.
Jesus Christ!
So we'll talk about that too.
No, I mean, there's something to be high on your own supply that you should be when you're writing a story or something like that. You should enjoy the art that you're creating, but there's also a point of like, understand that the audience might not be as,
And this is
I will always remember being in the theater and having to pee so badly for this that it's like, come the fuck on, hurry up. Yes, I know, you're going to miss each other. Can we move this on?
Also, this is the one that won the Oscar, right? But it's clearly the case where it won for what came before. They waited for him to finish to give him his Oscar.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would consider this the strongest of the three movies. Like, maybe there are some people out there, but they're probably voting like I voted for Return of the Jedi in our last episode. Like, for me, it was because it was the culmination, which made it so enjoyable for me. Whereas if these are standalones, there's no way that this is the best movie.
Right.
It's just not as interesting.
No.
It doesn't have as many cool things.
Once you get to like the fifth and final ending, it is satisfying. But, man, this movie really is just 2 CGI battles and then several wrap-ups. It's like how it felt the entire time.
And the thing that it has going for it over the DC universe is that it had 2 movies to set everything up so that it had to have that many endings. The DC Universe movies don't have that. They have like 20 minutes of setup and then 2 hours of CGI battles and endings.
It's also, unfortunately, you can see where the Hobbitization of the Lord of the Rings stuff starts to happen, because the fuzzy way that people look in the battles of these movies, the entire Hobbit trilogy looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
They have that weird glow around all of them because they're not really there, and that's like the entire Hobbit trilogy. It's like somebody rubbed Vaseline on the screen or something.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a PlayStation 3 era cutscene graphics kind of thing. Like, and they're good. They're not bad. I'd give them a good 8 even still out of 10. Mm-hmm. Here we are in the year of our Lord, whatever. But yeah, when you lean this heavily on the battle scenes with all the CGI, and I know you had to, you couldn't, if they tried to Blackwater Gate from Game of Thrones, the battle scenes, and have 30 people on screen and have us just imagine the other 100,000 people behind them, that would have been a bit much. So, I mean, I'm glad they did it. I don't know of another way to do this, so it's not like I'm criticizing them, but there's no denying that when you look over a lot of those battle scenes, like Legolas running up the side of the Oliphant and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like, it looked good. It looked like good CGI. Right. That's what it looked like. In no way did my brain think, wow, Orlando Bloom is very dexterous. No, I never doubted reality when I was watching that scene. So.
Even like the boat scenes you could tell were CGI, and that bothered me a lot, because it was like, that's such an easy one to not make look like CGI, and
were they added to the extended? Because I don't remember them being in the boat for the theatrical release.
Only the part where the dead guy comes out of the mountain and says, "We fight," and then they jump on that boat the first time. That is the only part that was added. Them pulling up was not, because you were meant to think, and it does a disservice by adding it, because you're meant to think when those ships pull up that those are just more
it's the bad
troops.
Guys, yeah.
Yeah. And because you know it's not, it takes that away.
The boat in the water was a big giveaway for me. I don't know what it was. Maybe we're just spoiled with, modern day CGI and graphics and games and stuff like that, but I don't know. Assassin's Creed 4 had better water physics than this, and rightfully so. It came 10 years later, so I'm not. Again, it's not a criticism. It's just a realistic view of what we were watching.
It's a criticism for me, because honestly, for all the money that they spent on these movies and all the things that they shot as practical shots, to put that in as CGI when you didn't have to, that's where you can really start to see the beginning of the Hobbitization, because they're like, we're just going to CGI everything.
The Hobbitization.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yep.
It's true. You're absolutely right there. You're absolutely right.
Fuck it. We're just going to CGI everything.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm dreading so much us going and watching the Hobbit trilogy after this, because part of the reason why I didn't want to watch the Hobbit trilogy after this is that even though this got a little way down with the CGI in this one and yada yada, the Hobbit trilogy, it feels like it would kind of ruin post hoc my view of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because then I'd start seeing more Hobbitization in this one.
It doesn't. You can see it in this one because it's on display. It's not in the other ones. So
it's definitely not in the other ones. It is more in this one, and it is nowhere near to the level that the Hobbit movies have it either.
I would like to say too that our problems with the long ending, or our constant mockery and media's mockery in general of the ending, we talked about before in the last time we talked about Lord of the Rings, about how if this were a TV show, we would probably view the length a little bit differently. So this trilogy with the extended cuts is 11 hours and 42 minutes or something like that. And if we had a TV show that was 12 episodes long, if the Lord of the Rings was a miniseries that was 12 episodes long and it was 12 hours long or whatever, I don't think we would really mind the timing and the passing of time. I think it would work really well.
If it was only 12 episodes, we'd be like, that's it.
But however, if it were only 12 episodes, you realize that Mount Doom would crash in episode 11, and all of episode 12 would be following the hobbits around and seeing all the goodbyes.
Right.
I don't know if that would be really a worthwhile episode to, you know what I'm saying? That 12th episode is kind of a wash then. Yeah, you would enjoy watching it, but you wouldn't, I don't know, on second watch, you wouldn't go back and watch The Hobbit being, filleted by the entire world everywhere they go.
Maybe if that's your kink. We don't kink shame here.
I mean, Rule 34, Rule 30, I'm sure there's somewhere of Aragorn filleting Frodo.
All right.
Somewhere.
Well, let's make like Peter Jackson and get this over with. Talk about the movie proper.
This movie obviously starts out, well, maybe not obviously if you haven't seen it before. Speaking to you, Adam. The finding of the ring. So we go back in time and we see how Smeagol found the ring.
Yeah. Super talented man, great actor. Has been in lots of stuff. I would not be honest to myself if I didn't say that Andy Serkis is an unfortunately British looking man. I know there's a lot of makeup.
Unfortunately British. Oh God, that's a good episode name too, my friend. I don't know.
We've already just absolutely mocked British people not that long ago, actually, with the episode title.
Yeah. Well,
hey, this whole movie is kind of like J.R.R. Tolkien filleting British people in general anyways. They're the heroes. They're the wonderful ones. They're the only people that can carry the ring, I
want you to get a tape recorder and just record some of the things you're saying. I think you'll be very interested in it.
Hey, filleting is shorthand for when you like somebody. That's what my parents taught me.
I really, first of all, I like that he needs to get a tape recorder as if he's not already recording this.
Yeah.
Also, I need to bring up the fact that in the movie, Deagle and Smeagol are totally getting it on. Like, they are cousins, but there is no way that is not two lovers talking and boating and then arguing over the ring.
Really?
I mean,
yeah.
Oh
Maybe it was
God,
a Brokeback Mountain thing where they had to get away from their families to.
Right.
to
He literally calls him lover. Like what do you have there, my love, or something like that.
Oh, that's his. I get it though. I mean, it's kind of like me when I would go to the gas station and my sister, my girlfriend's sister, was the clerk, and as she handed me something, and I said, "Thanks, dear," and then I got yelled at later for calling her dear. I'm like, no, I wasn't.
Also, you were banging
at the gas station.
Yeah, at the gas station.
Yeah, those bathrooms, man, they're hot. They're hot.
I mean, dear and love are two different things. Like, if somebody calls you dear, like, okay, little old ladies call people dear. Little old ladies don't go around calling people my love.
I like seeing the transition that they show us of him.
That is so well done, where he closes his eyes and they're normal, and he opens them, that's so well done. That is really well done.
Little at a time, you can see the different parts of him, like him eating the fish and all the squishing around his mouth, and it's gradual too. We don't go from Andy Serkis to Gollum at a snap of a finger. It little by little, you see his hair start to thin, you see his skin start to get more sallow and pale, and you see like a oily, greasy film on everything. Like he's that first scene is brilliant, and for the first time viewing it, that threw me off like a motherfucker, because I was, like I told you on the last one, I was starting to root for Gollum, sincerely, and now that I see that, his journey began with him being a fucking murderer.
Right.
Okay, now it makes sense when he's talking to himself earlier and he's like, murderer. Oh, yep, you have been. Yep. You started this journey by killing your friend, your loved one, whatever he was, your Brokeback partner, whatever he was to you, you killed him.
Yep.
Maybe it was just that gay sex was not appreciated in their proto-Hobbit culture.
I'm not shaming anybody. I'm just saying that it was a very erotic love.
The way Sam and Frodo look at each other, I feel like it was a common occurrence.
Well, yes, but that's many years later. Society develops over time.
Fair, you're right.
Yeah, the hobbits they view it a little bit differently. It's okay to have sex with your male friend as long as you go on a world-saving journey to a fiery pit.
Now, I want to say I made a comment about getting it over with, like Peter Jackson phoned it in. He really didn't.
No.
I think the cinematography in this one is some of the best in the series, even though I might not like what's being shot quite as much as the other films. But everything where we have character interactions, like once we end the intro and we pull in on Sam and Frodo, just the way they're framed perfectly, where we see both of them in the background. There's a lot of shots that were really impressive while I was watching this, that stood out more so than in the other movies. So I feel like production has run its course right while he's filming this, and now he probably has more time to focus on the duties of directing instead of also designing what's coming next and making decisions. You know what I mean? So
you said duty.
All right, get him out of here.
Right.
Somebody.
Like, I do feel like the way Kelly is going today with almost no sleep and going right from this movie into the next movie, and all of us being short an hour of sleep because we had to spring forward today, that we might need to start a Fellate counter. How many times is that word going to be used?
I thought you were going to end that sentence very differently, and I was here for it. No, so yeah, I was up till 6 a.m, finishing this movie, and I still had all the endings, and I'm like holding my head up, and I'm like, no, fuck this, I'm going to bed for a few hours, and then waking up and watching that. So I literally ended the movie 5 minutes before we started recording this. So that might be why you hear a little bit of exasperation in my voice, because it was like, I procrastinated. Dear listener, I procrastinated. It's all my fault. So I'm not blaming Peter Jackson for Kelly procrastinating.
This is all Peter Jackson's fault.
God damn it, Peter. Why you gotta do this shit? Can you fucking hurry this up? Got thousands of people that are all employed by this.
We finally get the title card up after the whole Smeagol, and then popping in to see where Smeagol's at with Frodo and Sam. And
hey, we're 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
On the podcast, and we got to the title card.
Title card, yay! And well, you're 20 minutes in the movie before you get to the title card too.
Yeah, so if by this rate, we're going to have a 4.5 hour episode. No, kill me.
Michael Scott, no, God, no.
But you pull up on the people leaving Helm's Deep and coming into Isengard. And I just want to say, like, imagine you're pulling up after this war, like, you lost almost everybody, huge death toll, siege for days, and you pull up and the other battalion, if you will, is sitting on top of a wall, drunk as a hell and high as a kite.
Yeah, smoking weed and drunk, and they're like, hey guys, everything's great, isn't it?
Eating
awesome,
raw bacon or whatever the fuck they're eating.
That cracked me up, because you just know that everybody else is like, fuck you.
But we were all Gimli in that moment where he says salted pork. Like, ooh, that sounds good, right? Even in the theater, I got popcorn and candy in front of me. I'm like, I could go for some salted pork.
Notably, this happens at the end of the second book.
Yes.
There's a lot of mixing, like remixing that happens.
Very
in this
interwoven here.
Even the Smeagol Deagle scene was meant to be at the end of Two Towers, but they end up using it to open this movie.
The whole thing with Shelob later, that's all in the second book too. Like this movie
really?
is very it's very interwoven with the second book.
Oh, Kelly, my face when I was reading the book, when I was listening to the audiobook, and we've destroyed the ring, and Mount, the travel to Mount Doom is done, and I look and there's still 10 hours left of the fucking book. I'm like, what the fuck?
I have a whole mini-series in front of me, and the story's done. We're done. We're just wrapping things up. How many loose ends?
Tolkien, what are you doing?
So you can't blame Peter Jackson.
And structure works, my dude.
This is the same man that wrote whole appendices about the different family lineages and stuff like that. So God bless. I mean, to say that J.R.R. Tolkien was a fan of detail would be understatement. So, like, I guess he just had to weave for a little while longer. And, now that we live in the digital age, you could just stop. As soon as Mount Doom blows up and everybody looks at the tower with tears in their eyes, you can just fade the thing to black and then go on and watch something else.
Most of it is genuinely interesting, but you literally could have had a fourth movie with what happens after it in the books.
Yeah. I get it. What you guys were saying about the sacking of the Shire and stuff like that. So
at this point in the movie, Saruman dies, which does not happen in the books. But what a death. That was a great death. It really was.
Yep. And everybody knows about the famous Christopher Lee thing, right? Mm-hmm. Where, Peter Jackson had Grima Wormtongue stab him in the back, and he wanted Christopher Lee to cry out in pain. And Christopher Lee told him in very grave tones that I've seen a man get stabbed in the back and they don't cry out. They take a gasp in because their lungs.
Oh, yeah.
And
cold
Peter
as
Jackson
fuck.
was so weirded out that he was like, okay, we'll do it that way. That sounds great.
Yeah.
And that's what you see is that Grima stabs him and you see that look of shock on his face and he just has that little gasp of air and then he's dead. Well,
then he falls for like 17 stories and lands on spikes. Like,
Well, CGI model that looks somewhat similar to Saruman falls for...
Grima does kill him in the Shire. It's
Yes.
just moved up to here.
a lot.
Yeah.
And
By,
this
like,
was a...
It works here. That way they can have that big conversation. You skip the sacking of the Shire, which seems kind of superfluous anyways.
It's not.
It just gave them a little mini adventure at the end, it felt like.
Yeah,
At
but
least
it's also
the way you all
showed
described it.
They showed it in the first one when he's
Right.
looking in Galadriel's pool or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's that meme that I saw going around is what will I see in this pool? You'll see the things that have passed, things that have never come to be, and things that we can't fit into the fourth movie.
Right,
So the
exactly.
sacking of this-
Yeah.
And the sacking of the Shire is very important if one of your favorite characters is Mary, because it's a very big part for Mary. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Wait, is Mary? He's not the one that sings. No, never mind. I was
that's-
going to say, but he gets a song in this one. So,
Yeah.
but no,
No,
it's
he
the other
doesn't.
one.
But yeah, so that scene is extra. So when you saw it in the theatrical release, if you were familiar with the books, you did not know that there was not going to be a sacking of the Shire because Saruman was still alive, technically.
How does he die in the theater? He just doesn't die.
Right.
They just leave him alone.
Mhm.
That's because I remember
Yeah.
like leaving the theater with the impression of Saruman is just
Still out
where
there.
is he in prison somewhere? Is he just walking around?
He's
Did he
still
just
stuck
go
at
put
the
on
top of the
regular
tower.
pants and a shirt? He's somewhere in fucking Minas Tirith or whatever going, hello, I would like to sell
Yeah.
cabbages with you. I'm just looking for a job.
And then you get to the point where the Palantir is like unveiled and you see that Pip is totally infatuated with it.
Oh, yeah.
And then later on touches it and gets yelled at by Gandalf again.
Especially when he's told don't touch it. I mean,
Right.
nobody says don't touch it, but they kind of imply, I'll take that from you, young lad,
Yep.
or whatever, and he wraps it up real quick. And you can see it in his face like, well, now that you told me I can't have it, now I have to have it.
Yes.
Little shitty hobbit.
What it reminded me of, and even like the later scene when he actually like sneaks out at night and he goes over and he picks up the Palantir and he looks at it, whatever. It just reminded me of like he was sneaking away to go watch porn or something. Like he was like,
Right?
it was like the only one person in the camp had a cell phone and
It's,
connection.
it's the sleepover, and so
Yeah.
he's going to the computer room while everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it
And
was
the-
like. He's sneaking away to go watch some porn and somebody caught him.
Yep. And they're like, don't go. And he's like, I'm going to go anywheres.
When you stare into the porn stares back into you.
But that was really important too, because that in the book is like, it's made very clear in the book.
Oh, and it hurts his hand too. The similarities are lining up there.
It's made very clear in the book that him doing that actually makes Sauron turn his head away from Gondor and what's going on there, and the fact that he can feel the ring getting closer and he is distracted and thinks that he's wrong. The ring is in Isengard and that Pip has it because he sees a halfling. So that, like, here's Pip saving the entire world and everybody's calling him a moron again, but nobody knows he's saving the entire world.
But also, he's clearly the worst hobbit, just like Qui-Gon Jinn is the worst Jedi.
Yeah, everything he does turns to shit. It's like he can't do anything right. Even when he like swears his fealty later on, you notice that Gandalf like kicks him out of the way. Like, get the fuck out of here! What are you doing?
I love that thread holds through the entire trilogy.
Yeah.
That Gandalf just can't fucking stand Pip.
I bring that up later too.
It's the common thing. I'm telling you, every time you have a hero that is supposed to be like wonderful and perfect in every way, there's one person they can't fucking stand. Who, and you don't know who it is. It's Kermit and Louie and the Fish, and this one it's Gandalf and Pippin.
Took.
What's his name? Pippin Took.
Took.
Pippin took the Palantir.
But I think it's hilarious that Gandalf gets stuck fighting right next to Pippin the entire time too. like, hey, here's the person that annoys you most in the world. They're now your partner in everything. Enjoy.
Well, he has to learn the lesson he's trying to convince Frodo of in the first movie, that, you know, maybe pity should stay your hand. Maybe you should find the value
Yes.
in this little This little man. And you see it that he does actually like Pip, because in the scenes where, like, he's mocking him for being Pippin, guard of the Citadel or whatever, however he says it, like, there's a smile in his face. And the few times you see Pip start to get, like, actually scared, Gandalf puts his arm around him and reminds him that, and then there's that whole big scene at the end where he talks about what happens after you die to try to calm Pippin in case he dies in the fight. So, like, we joke, but Gandalf obviously does care very deeply about Pip. Eowyn's dream. What is Eowyn's dream? What I remember seeing it, but, like, what does she dream about again?
I don't know. Probably Aragorn.
Yeah, pretty much.
She does have one-track mind. She wants to fight and fuck Aragorn. Those are the two modes she has.
He can't blame a girl. Like, that's some dead ass goals.
Poor Viggo Mortenstern.
Like, fight and fuck. Those are good goals to have.
Oh yeah. I mean, and Viggo, from what I gather, he is a very handsome man to a lot of people, but there's no denying he's one of those attractive, and I'm putting air quotes around it, people that kind of looks a little funny. Mm-hmm. Like, if you found out that he was Steve Buscemi's really attractive older brother, it wouldn't be that out of field.
He's one of those people that, like, he's attractive in one scene, and then the next scene you're like, is he though? And then again, you're like, okay, yeah, I see it. And then
it's the air of majesty that surrounds him that's also attractive. That's what's doing that.
Yeah, well, and the majesty comes and goes, it seems, for me, because there are scenes where, like, when he's talking to the hobbits and he says something to them and he says it, like, with pride in his voice, and you're like, fuck yeah, that's Aragorn, that's the king of whatever. And then there are scenes where he's actually the king and he's giving his kingly speech, and I'm like, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. He looks like Joe Biden on Too Little Sleep or something. Like, he doesn't, maybe not that bad, maybe not, but he's just not quite... He's not quite as majestic as I remembered him in the earlier scenes. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's too gussied up.
Right.
I don't know. He looks like he's uncomfortable with all the fucking shit on him, but we'll get there.
You would be too. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. He's wearing probably 17 layers.
And then when they put that crown looks like the most uncomfortable fucking crown in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's like they tried to age him.
Yes.
Which I have questions about that anyway.
Yeah, they put more gray in his hair too.
What is Elrond doing there then? Why are all the elves there if it's many years later?
They're hanging out until it's time to go, Come on.
I thought they were in a hurry. What are you talking about? They're hanging out.
The whole
first movie was about they're in a hurry.
Sauron is defeated.
Now they changed their mind because somebody else did all the fucking work that they didn't want to put their... They're like, all right, well, seeing as you got it done, I guess we'll hang out for a little while. You fucking fair weather friends.
They are. The elves are kind of dicks.
Like, classic liberalism.
Like when Arwen does her flashback or her vision, and she sees that she's meant to have children, and she runs to her dad and she's like, you saw this, and he's like, I saw death in your future. Dude, there is death in everybody's future. Like, yes, everybody's gonna die unless they go to the Undying Lands. That's kind of the point. I
had an epiphany. So, like, okay, so the elves are going to the west. That's where their land is. The hobbits and everybody, this is supposed to be an analog for, like, the hobbits are British, and this is, like, Europe, and this is World War I or whatever, 2. I think it was 1, but either way, whichever World War it was. So are the Americans the elves? In which case, they're kind of aloof, they're standoffish, they don't get involved until they're personally affronted, and most of the time they just stay the fuck out of it. But after the war... they decide they want to stick around and be involved in everything.
Yeah,
like, is this Tolkien going, fucking Americans? Like, you didn't help us enough during the war, and now that the war is over, you want to run everything. Yeah, fuck you.
I want to jump forward a little bit and talk about one of my favorite shots in this whole movie when Sam and Frodo are...
where it says the end?
Yeah, well, we'll get there soon enough, God willing. But, they're climbing the rocks, and, the Witch King is in front of that castle with all the
You're jumping way ahead. That's like...
it's not that far ahead.
It's only so way ahead.
Minutes. There's nothing important that happens before then.
There's a
lot of stuff that happens between. We got Arwen's vision, the reforging of Narsil, Minas Tirith.
Yeah, but
I'm just reading scene names right now.
So what? See, we've talked about it. See, now we can.
But anyway, make your point, and we'll come back in time to talk about the other stuff. What are you going to say?
This shot with the Witch King on the penis dragon as it's looking down. Over the castle, and like the camera turns, and it's like an inverted inverted perspective. It's just fucking awesome. Like,
it is.
Because it shows like the creepiness of the, like the dark forces marching out of the castle, and that camera that's like following it down. It's so good. And then even them on the rocks, like the camera's spinning as we get to see the bridge and they're crossing over it. Really, really, really good camera work in this stuff. And very, very lots of horror scenes in this movie. Horror camera direction that I really like. It's Peter Jackson's roots, and it's nice to. I feel like he was waiting the whole time for this
to be able to release it.
100%.
Well, it feels like that level of attention to visual detail continues on into a lot of the other scenes too, because I agree with you there, but there's also the pendulum swings the other way, that the scenes where things are from the human side look very warm yet lived in. Scenes where Gandalf is sitting on the streets and there are a bunch of crates with dusty rope hanging all over them, like little things like that feel lived in. When Faramir and the riders from Gondor are going to Osgiliath and everybody is meeting them in the streets to say goodbye to them, their armor is so well done, but it looks used yet polished. They look very prim and proper, like they're riding out to their funeral pretty much, which all of them are, I guess. But then you have all the people throwing down little sprigs of like tundra flowers. And that felt that was real. And then every once in a while, one of them might reach out and take one from one of the people. Maybe they would put it in their lapel or something. Just like the imagery of all that. Like, you don't need to tell me what's going on in this world. I can see, even just one still, I can see what's going on from the way they're dressed. The people that showed up, they're dressed in nice clothes to say goodbye to their loved ones. The men that are riding out have their hair curled and pressed and whatever they did for their style, because they know they're riding to their death. This is a big moment for them, even though to the king upstairs or the regent upstairs, he's just eating his fucking
grape tomatoes.
His tomatoes.
Like he's never seen one in his entire fucking life. Yeah. I'm going to try to shove one through my nose. Like
Keith literally just jumped past one of the lines that I felt was super poignant currently in the world that we live in currently. Where Pip says, I don't want to be in a battle, but waiting on the edge of one I can't escape is even worse. And I feel that so distinctly right now.
Yeah.
It's the same feeling that I have. Like, I feel like we're headed towards a big war and that we're going to get there and we're just waiting for the shoe to drop.
I think anybody with anxiety knows that feeling.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the point in living a life with anxiety is feeling that feeling all the time. And a lot of times the battle never comes, but you just feel like that anyways. Yeah.
And also the fact that they talked about how no living man can kill the Witch King of Angmar when you have an entire country full of elves and dwarves and hobbits and women and all these other things. Like, he's far from indestructible if only living men can't kill him. And the only people you call men are the men. Just saying.
Yeah, it's a weird choice of the word, because you could use it as a general, like, first off, man means a male human.
Right.
But you could also say that man means mankind, the androgynous term or whatever, or the, not androgynous, but the...
I just want to say I was curious when reading the book if that was the same thing, or if that was like something made for the movie. But no, that exchange in the line is still in the book. I am no man. And I was like, okay, good for Tolkien.
Yeah, it seems like a weird choice, because even if you're talking about mankind in general, like you said, there are elves, there are dwarves, there are hobbitses, there are lizard people. I'm assuming if the world didn't even know that hobbits existed, there are other weird races that we don't ever see that are hidden in the mountains or in the plains or whatever. So, like, for him to say, no man can kill me, that's like a man walking outside and saying, I'll never die to a mosquito bite.
Right.
Okay, well, you can still get hit by a fucking bus, dude. Like, that doesn't make you invincible, because that's just one of the thousands of things.
Exactly.
But then, Eowyn's brother, I forget his name, Carl Urban, he says
obviously.
He says that war is the province of men, which kind of leans into that like, you don't see the elves and the dwarves fighting each other. Right. You don't see the hobbits fighting each other. You just see men fighting each other.
Opportunity to bring that up. So you got Eowyn and Eomer. at, I think their battalion is referred to as the Eodris or something.
Yes. Yep.
And I was watching this scene and I'm like, fuck, man, when they go out to eat in Rohan, do they order like AO burgers and AO fries? Like,
was this is like Tolstoy level of like everything has the same name and I have to really think about who is who.
Yep.
That's why I just call him the Carl Urban character. I'm sure he has a name. It's not important.
Yeah, if you're referring to them, you could just call them the AOs.
Yeah,
AO.
Eowyn's brother. I have a name. No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay, then go get one. Get one of your own, probably.
Also,
not borrow your sister's.
And Day, don't skip on the AO sauce.
Right.
How about we just leave Ao out of one name? This is Eowyn, this is Aaron, this is blah, 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 and this is Bill.
You have Theoden.
How hard is it?
Theoden and Theodred.
Theoden King.
AO is the second sound.
It's still got Ao, it's just got the in front of it.
Also, I have to, back to the point when we're climbing Minas Morgul, or we're getting ready to climb the stairs to Cirith Ungol. I love that they've been walking for days on end, like months and months of walking. And to me, as a hiker, I'm watching it and I'm seeing Smeagol like, okay, we just got to go up these stairs. It's like a wall that is straight up of stairs.
Yeah, no,
and I just laughed because then Frodo is like, fuck that. That's flat. I'm going that way.
Yeah, as somebody with a fear of heights, an open staircase going up a wall is like, that is, nope, no, thank you. With like wind and everything. Nope, I would, I'll just stay down here and die. But the world will perish. All right, well, we gave it a good run.
But
Sam looks noticeably like he's lost weight in this one, which is a good. It's like helps the narrative. I feel all that walking and traveling and skimp eating.
I agree. He absolutely does.
Live in New York for a couple of weeks. It'll help you lose weight.
But I think that Frodo looks like he actually has gained weight.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said about previously about that. Just Elijah Wood's like wide, fat fucking face. The way
dude! Wow.
Sometimes he looks thin, and sometimes
Elijah
he looks
Wood's
like
wide, fat fucking face. Jesus Christ!
That could be another episode title.
That's another good episode.
And he's like such a nice guy too. You make the worst fucking person. Elijah, don't listen to him. We'll kick him off the pod. Come on, it'll just be Jamie and I. We'll talk to you, just the two of us.
But even like when he falls and like his shirt is off or his shirt comes up and he looks like he doesn't look like he's been walking for weeks.
I mean, I mean, it's magic. Anything that's what I was explained to in the last two movies. Anything I didn't understand. The magic rope is what did it. There you go. It explains everything. The elven rope helped him gain weight.
He was just a hobbit that held his extra weight well. That's what because all the hobbits are supposed to be kind of rotund and round. That's kind of
and I really do think it's part of that cloak thing I told you about, where if you get your cloak bunched up right underneath your neck fat, even if you're a skinny person, it'll make you look like you got 5 chins, So,
and if you have 5 chins, it makes you look like you have 10.
I'm gonna let Jamie do her thing because we're 40 minutes in, and Judy is slapping her wristwatch right now. So
yeah. I mean, we don't have to do a beat by beat either, so we can skip ahead a little bit. But I mean, I think there are a couple things we need to talk about, like Arwen's vision and the reforging of Narsil. Both of those are points that we probably want to touch on.
Right.
Sure. Go for it.
Keith is just mad because he has no notes, and he's like, Jamie Keith was 6 pages of notes. We were not supposed to have notes.
So you're saying that Keith is looking at you and saying, Jamie, please.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There it comes.
Put the movie down. All right, so Arwen's vision. What did y'all think of Arwen's vision?
Not much.
Remind me, no, Keith, because you just listened to the book. I feel like in the book, that is not how the whole forging of the sword came together.
It's brought to him by the other rangers. It's like a thing that happens pretty much off screen, and it's not brought to him by Arwen and
Elrond.
Yeah, Arwen and Elrond. They make it for him and they send it with the other rangers to give to him. Also,
we don't really see the rangers ever, right?
No, not in
the movie.
Yeah,
no.
So that's why they just skipped that.
Well, and because they needed to get Arwen back in there somehow. Like, hey, remember, there's this chick that he's like totally in love with. Otherwise, the ending makes
flashbacks.
Yeah. Otherwise, the ending is really weird.
More mystical romance scenes.
Is this a kissing book?
this woman that you haven't seen in a movie and a half all of a sudden, and she's back, kind of thing. You gotta shoehorn her in back somewhere.
Well, don't you understand? This is early day fantasy. The woman is just a reward. She's a prize to be won by the winning team.
I do understand that.
Oh, I wasn't saying to you necessarily. I'm just
Right.
saying, to the general, the world. Do you understand that this is the way media viewed women a lot of times? They didn't have a whole lot of personality or character. They were just prizes to be won by the heroes at the end of the journey.
That's what they're pushing to go back to again. What are we talking about before?
Yeah. Some places never really quite caught up. Arwen's vision and seeing the future son staring at her, like, who is laying the guilt trip on is it just Arwen's mind? Does she just need therapy or something? Like, what's going on? Is that magic? Is that...
She wanted to fuck Aragorn.
I think Occam's razor is true here. She's just a teenager that hasn't had sex yet, and her loins are confusing the fuck out of her.
Oh my god, I want to have
like,
10,000 of his babies. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I just want to fuck. I just want...
Like, it all comes back to wanting to fuck Aragorn. Okay? It's all the women in this movie want to do. They just want to fuck Aragorn.
What don't you fucking understand?
So we get to see more of Gondor via Gandalf and little Pip going there for the first time. And I fucking love this place. I don't know how they did, if it was all done with special effects or if it was done with a lot of sets or whatever, if they used a location. I don't know, but Gondor looks really, or whatever it's, whatever the name of that city is
Minas
fucking gorgeous.
Tirith. Minas Tirith.
I have to give credit where credit is due, because I read the description of it before I saw it on screen in full. Because, we see a little bit of it in the last movie, but we get to see it in full and proper and how it looks. It is... Because I hadn't seen this movie in fucking forever. The only time I saw it was in theaters when it was out in theaters. That's the last time I watched this movie. And so maybe it's partly because of that, but I swear it was gone from my memory. But it looks exactly as it's described in the book. It's the top is described as like being axe head shaped, the way it tapers out into that triangle, and I don't know, they did a great job of depicting what was on the page, so I just wanted to shout that out. Good job, Weta and Pete.
You can see why they have so much pride in their home, because, like, that looks like a really cool place to exist, Like, I would go on a tour of Minas Tirith and just be there for, like, a month, just checking out all the little nooks and crannies.
All the little
spiral up around,
Little ivy on a white stone wall.
Right. First of all, it would take you a month to spiral all the way up to the top.
Yeah, my fear of heights might kick in a little bit. I'd have to stay far away from the edge, but...
You don't want to set yourself on fire and run off of it?
Yeah, that's the only way I could handle being up there, is I would set myself on fire and run off the cliff. That's how my anxiety would respond to being on that high of a cliff.
Since I just saw him, because I'm kind of scrubbing through, this Jason Voorhees looking orc is a complete fabrication for the movie. There is no such white pale skinned orc that's like acting as the leader of them.
But do you know who the orc is?
No, he's supposed to be somebody.
It's the same guy who played Haldir. Much less better looking in this movie.
Oh wow!
Really?
Yes. Yep. That is Haldir.
I didn't know that. Huh.
But
go figure.
I just want to. This is another pointing to the Hobbitification of this, needlessly making. I guess you want the commanding forces to have a commander that you can see, but it's just unnecessary because the orcs are like a stand-in for the faceless masses anyway. So why are you giving one a face?
Oh wait,
sort of thing.
Even better in the Hobbitification. Now I can't even say the word.
Hobbitification.
The Hobbitification. Hobbitification. The white orc here is connected to the made-up orc in the Hobbit movies.
Yeah.
They are related.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Pete.
Oh, good for you. And how was it?
Because that's what the Lord of the Rings universe needed, was more familial ties between characters.
Yeah.
We're at scene 13 out of 76.
Boo.
You need to leave. It's disgusting.
So, like I said, we can skip forward a little bit. I mean, hell, we could describe this movie as 3 different storylines that are going on. Well, maybe 4. So you got the battle that's going on, what's going on in Minas Tirith. So the battle and Jon Noble or Denethor and Faramir, that whole stuff. That's like that's the big story. Then you got what happens with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, where they break off from the Rohirrim and they go get their skeleton warriors. And then you've got what's going on with Frodo and Sam. And then you've got, like, I don't know, I guess you could consider what's going on with Theoden King and the Rohirrim as like a 3.5 storyline. Is there anything else that I'm leaving out in the broad strokes?
No.
Is there another group of people that we're following that I'm not thinking of? So, like, we can break this down into those things, those 3 stories. So why don't we start with the Skeleton Warriors? What did y'all think of that side quest that brought in the Skeleton Warriors?
I really liked the way that stuff was depicted, because like I said, it's Peter Jackson getting to do a lot of horror stuff, and the way
wispy hands reaching out, like, that was so good.
Well, not just the way their faces are. It's like 3 layers. It's like normal, unscarred, then like a rotten face, and then like a pure skull, and they keep phasing in and out with each other, and it's a really cool effect, a way to show a ghost of being like, you know, transitory in their state of being from when they were alive to being long dead. It's really fucking cool.
I really liked the wispy hands that were reaching up and kind of grabbing at them, and I enjoyed that effect. And I also loved how Gimli was explicitly told not to look down, and he looked down.
Of
course, you don't tell somebody that, because then they're going to do it.
Of course, yeah.
Aragorn planted the seed of destruction in that scene. I'm sorry. He knew what he was doing.
And then the way he's trying to walk gingerly across all the skulls then and failing because he's a dwarf.
I do want to point out one of the good changes Peter Jackson made is the ghosts don't come with Aragorn to the big battle.
Do not come. Do not
come. They help him like take the boats, and then they fuck off back to their ghost caves or whatever. But it's so much better and rewarding cinematically for them to come streaming off the boat at the actual battle, and you see their green trail like spiraling up Minas Tirith. It's great. It's a fantastic change, and it elevates that portion of the story to me from the book. It's a good change.
Yeah, did you know that as much as y'all are enjoying the skeleton army that Aragorn gathers, Peter Jackson didn't want that movie. He thought that was the worst part of the trilogy. He really wanted to leave that out. Yeah, the reason why the fans forced his hand indirectly because he said he knew the diehard fans would never forgive him if he left them out, even though if he had his say, they would never have been in this story.
I mean, it would have...
They were too fantastical for him or something. I don't know.
But to me, like, at the ending, like, you couldn't have won the battle without them. The way they portrayed the battle.
They fucking clean up.
That's just pure plot contrivance. Like, you could have made the Mordor army, instead of it being 100,000, it's now 75,000. Because really, it just comes down to numbers. How many people did those skeleton warriors kill? You could have had an offshoot of elves. You could have had the rangers finally showing up. You know what I'm saying? You could have had somebody else do that. And I understand that as somebody I like low magic universes. I like hard science fiction universes like The Expanse or like Game of Thrones, for examples of both. So like having the skeleton army does feel, but then again, he's got to remember, like, you had a Balrog in your first movie. You had a flame demon of underworld proportions kill your wizard in the first movie. Wake up. You have elves and dwarves and wizards and fireballs and towers and orcs, and then you're worried about skeleton warriors? Like, priorities, buddy. And he made the right decision. He threw it in there. And it goes to show how good of a craft and how good craftsmen everybody were involved with this, because even though it wasn't maybe some of their favorite parts, it turned out brilliantly. And now we have one of the best depictions of, like, a skeleton spectral warrior.
Right.
Yeah. Like, how many D&D fans looked at this and went, finally, like I was talking about with the Battle at Helm's Deep, D&D fans looking at this and going, finally, I see on screen what I've seen in my imagination for decades. That kind of thing.
And the fact that he wasn't, like, into it, but everyone still gave it their all is a testament to the filmmaking.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. I've been in shows before where I play a character that I might not agree with their movement. I might not even like the show sometimes, or the director gives me direction that I don't necessarily agree with. Do I do it in protest and be like, meh, fine, I walk in the room? No, you give it your fucking all, because that's the only way that this comes together is if everybody fucking tries. If the coach calls a play that you don't like that play, you still run it hard. You don't half-ass it because you thought it should have been a different play.
Right.
You really want to do this? Here. Now? Yes. Okay, let's do it!
Let's switch to talking about Frodo and Sam and their late of the adventure.
The bricklayers of Hobbiton.
Yeah. Are you saying that as a reference to Randall saying and then Frodo flat out bricks in Sam's mouth or whatever?
Yeah. I cannot think of this movie without thinking about Randall's speech.
I can't separate them. They're
three fucking movies of nothing but walking.
Even the fucking trees walk.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good. It's so good.
There's only one trilogy, there's only one return, and it ain't the king, baby. It's a
yeah, but see, it's like the Star Trek versus Star Wars. Why? Give me both. Give me both heaping handfuls of everything.
We are not talking about either one currently. We are not talking about either one currently.
Well,
we are talking about Lord of the Rings.
2/3 of us are.
Yeah, we'll fix that for you.
Yeah. Anyway, so how this connects to Star Trek is... I'm sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
I see the whole Sam and Frodo scene here really, as much as Kelly said that his least favorite scene in the entire trilogy is when Frodo betrays Smeagol, this is where this is my least favorite scene. This is what pisses me off. This is what turns me against Frodo. Like, how are you going to turn
Sam
against
away?
Sam?
Yeah.
Yes. Like, Sam has done everything for you. Yes. It makes me so mad. Like, you're going to betray Sam and listen
Sam is so sad. His eyes get so wet. It's like heartbreaking.
You're going to listen to this little monster.
The way he cries like how I feel I cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, I saw myself in Sam the way his heart broke. Mm-hmm. And, dude, that's like what I'm saying. Like, in the real life, this art, all art, and whether it's video games, books, movies, or whatever, you experience them in the context of your life. Going to see this movie with my recent ex-girlfriend right after we broke up, and seeing people like splitting up and betraying each other, and seeing Sam, oh my God, it's so fucking hard to like.
Yeah. I'm just saying that was a bad decision. That was a bad decision.
I don't know. I look back on it and it was difficult at the time, but it only made sense to do it. It was unfinished business. We had seen the other two. It was a part of the relationship, and it put an end to the relationship. It was way too fitting. That was the problem. It was too on the nose, and I'm sure she felt it too, because we're both sitting there watching two people saying goodbye on screen for fucking 3.5 hours. And, you know,
these two people saying goodbye, and then those two people saying goodbye, and then these two people saying goodbye.
Literally stuck next to each other while this is happening. Yeah, I can see how that would sour the movie.
One of us should have said, I gotta get some popcorn, and took off. No, but see, like, again, I look back and like, I'm glad we did it, because it actually, you know, it sucked to go through, but kind of like the war. Yes, dear listener, I'm comparing myself to the what Frodo and Aragorn went through, because I had to sit through a movie with
all right, Charlie Sheen.
There was no winning.
The Shelob, how do you pronounce that name?
Shelob.
That stuff's pretty cool, and it's fairly 1-1 to the books. They just get like Frodo and Sam get separated in the tunnels instead of him like coming back from being banished or whatever. But it plays out roughly the same.
I feel like it took way too long. Like, it was at that point. There's so many battles going on, and the last thing I want is to be sitting there watching Frodo battle with it's sticky, what is it, which made me laugh out loud because I'm a 12-year-old kid. And then Gollum going, "You'll see, he." But yes.
Yeah, and it feels like so many times they took their time on stuff like this, where it's like, you know, kind of, I don't know. It's hard for me to view this as if it was my first time watching it. Knowing how everything ends up going into it, there's so many times where I'm doing that, making a wheel with my finger. Come on. Right. Come on. Like, I know. Like, everything's beautiful. This is all very beautiful to look at. And the music is great. And the special effects are great. Can we just sting the motherfucker and let's move on?
Part of that is because we did watch the extended edition, and there were extra scenes thrown in that did not need to be there, and were not taken out of the theatrical release for a reason. But part of it is,
if it were my first time, like, I get it. It wasn't bad. It's just, I don't know.
But that was my thought when that whole battle was going on, and you're like, oh my goodness, okay, she's almost got him. Nope. She's almost got him. Nope. It was a bit redundant.
Ooh.
Somebody's doing activity. No, they're allowed. They're allowed to exist.
I've had that conversation with Hellas
It's okay. It's okay if somebody else in the world is moving.
They're allowed to exist in their land. It's okay.
But Dad, you're recording a podcast right now. Yes, I know. You're actually causing more disturbance than they are.
I have to give big props to the Gondorian soldiers because, like, Denethor is like, just leave it, just run away, you're gonna die, go, go, go. And then they start running away, and Gandalf's like, no, stay. And they all go, okay.
Yeah, we'll get there. I have long thoughts about Denethor's cracking of his own egg.
I have a lot of thoughts about Denethor.
But we're still on Sam and Frodo, so let's stay on that for just a minute longer, and let's finish our journey with them, and then we'll trust me, we'll dive along with Denethor.
Wow.
So Sam and Frodo, they split up. They have their Brokeback Breakup, and they split up. And at this point, Smeagol just basically throttles. At first he tries to get Frodo stuck in an inactive spider cave. It looks like because there's not very many spider webs around, so it's just kind of to freak him out.
He knows she's there. No, he was leading her there.
Yeah.
His whole purpose of having them take those stairs is because he's leading them to that trap.
Yeah. Oh, I know. But you see in a later cave what an active trapped cave looks like because there are spider webs everywhere. This one just has a few laying on the ground. That speaks to me of the spider has not been hanging out here a lot. This maybe they're here, but this is not where this is not where they hunt. Yeah. So Smeagol puts him in an area where the spider's not really hunting anymore and starts taunting him. Like, oh, you'll see. Oh, she'll come get you now. And it's like, why are you even giving that away? If you're going to give it away, wait till he's stuck. Wait till he's like, are you just trying to scare him? Is that what you're doing?
I don't know if you know this, but Gollum is not like a skilled tactician or anything.
Also, he's been gone from the area for a long time. Like that, he was aware of it, but he's been away from there for a while now.
Both of them had a lot of time to talk about it. They had a lot of time to lay their plans.
Yeah, he operates on whim and like selfish instincts. So, I mean, let's not drag him too much for not.
So what you're saying is Gandalf doesn't wipe, or Gollum doesn't wipe.
No. What I'm saying is Gandalf doesn't wipe. Let's drill down on that.
He started out as Gandalf the White. Now he's Gandalf the mostly white.
Gandalf the Brown.
Brother.
I mean, dude, you got toilet paper hanging all around you. What do you doing?
Oh Jesus! This is that, and there's another possible title. Gandalf doesn't wipe.
Gandalf doesn't wipe. I meant Gollum for the record. I'm pretty sure that Gandalf wipes. Anyways,
wearing that much white, you would have to.
Yeah. Everybody would know if you didn't.
Brother.
Why do you do this?
Part of the problem of cramming a lot of the second book stuff with Sam and Frodo into this one is that in the book, I know it takes a while, but man, the last leg of their trip through Mordor is much longer and much more harrowing. Like they're literally starving and having to like lick the water off of rocks and stuff, like because there's no
and stumbling forward because they have no strength left.
Yeah, it's in the books. It's extremely desperate. It's in a lot extremely desperate for a lot longer of a time than it is in the movie. So it's a little bit of a disservice, but at the same time, I'm glad that they didn't do it because then this movie would be fucking 6 hours long instead of 4 hours.
Yeah,
long.
and you can see that they leaned into, instead of that survival horror in that way of where do we get our next drop of water, they leaned more into the, hey, are you afraid of spiders?
Right.
Do you have arachnophobia? Well, this movie is not for you.
Yeah.
How many people did this either awaken a latent arachnophobia, or it gave them just straight up trauma because they weren't? I mean, imagine you don't know, and let's imagine you actually have arachnophobia and you don't know that there are giant spiders in this because you go to the movie, never seen it before, and then you just have to sit through like, I don't know, a half hour of a horror movie made specifically for you. And I mean, I'm not, Peter Jackson, I'm not trying to call him out because he has arachnophobia, according to him. He is arachnophobic. So like, he doesn't, he was making a spider that he would have been the most afraid of. That's probably why it looks so fucking creepy, because he took his worst fears and turned that into what he put on screen.
Yeah, sorry everybody else who has arachnophobia, because he's made it specifically for people like you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully the spiders don't bother me, but that whole thing was... It's still creepy when he, like, stabs Frodo. Oh, and again, this is the first time in this movie we have to have a Frodo fake death.
Yep.
Somebody fake died, of course. And at this point, I don't even care anymore. Even the first time I watched it, if Frodo died and they had to carry that little cocoon, I was thinking, well, at least it's easier to carry because his arms aren't flailing around. You can just carry him like a fucking torpedo to the Mount Doom and fling him right in.
He'd drag easier, too.
Yeah,
like you could
you could get a little pulley system going to get him up the cliffs and stuff. Bang his head against the cliff like Weekend at Bernie's.
Right.
Weekend at Frodo's.
Kelly, you'll be happy to know that I have a musical note for this one.
What is it? Is it B flat?
Very funny. Get him out of here. So after Smeagol attacks when they're on their way up the final leg of the mountain, and Frodo goes to run away, and we see the door leading into the volcano area where he's got to destroy the ring. The ring theme plays, but at the end it swings up and it's triumphant instead of
Yay! Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's very cool. It's a very cool way to do it. Like, just the last two notes are not not flat notes. They're it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it jumped out at me. Like, I wasn't even taking notes, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a musical thing banging me over the head, and it's very good.
And that's the wonderful thing about musical notes or musical themes and stuff like this is sometimes your brain is actively aware of the music you're listening to, and like you had there where you're like, oh, and you can actually do a callback. And that callback is enhanced and reinforced because you have 10 hours of that theme flitting in and out, and you're used to it being a certain way. And the fact that it was done a different way, then you can pick up on that. But the other side, where music is like magic to me. I mean, people talk about wizards and shit like that. Music is a version of magic. Same with physics and stuff like that. But music is magic in that you can affect somebody's mood from far away with sound waves kind of thing. And soundtracks, when they're done well, let's say that you were watching this and you didn't make that active mental note about the music and it just passively affected your brain, you would be thinking about maybe your mind would go back to the first finding of the ring and the fact that it feels kind of hopeful.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, and that's, I love hearing stuff like that. Like, I didn't pick up on that. I didn't actively hear that, but I totally see it, and I probably was feeling that feeling watching that scene, partly due to the story, but partly due to the music. So yeah, we're going to take a little break. I mean, that was a good hour plus of us talking about Return of the King. So we're going to split this up to make this a little bit easier for Editing Kelly. Editing Kelly, you're wonderful. You're so pretty, right, guys? Isn't Editing Kelly look nice tonight?
Editing Kelly is the prettiest princess in all the princess land.
I don't know. I would challenge Editing Kelly to really push himself and do a one episode, but we can't do that. It's too much. So
that's really mean, Keith, and it's not a good idea to make Editing Kelly mad while he's editing right now.
Yeah,
it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
All Keith's jokes gone.
Yes, Keith makes no good jokes.
Well, then,
crickets after everything he says.
Well, then, if all my jokes are gone, then what are you going to have in the episode?
Just the rest of basically, it'll be the same. It'll kind of be the same as normal.
Fine. No, yes, Editing Kelly is an angelic, beautiful being that you
can't look at directly, so...
No, I'm not Editing Kelly, but I can say that he'll probably say thanks, guys, thanks. Yeah, so we'll join up next week and we'll finish out Return of the King. But for this week, I'm Kelly.
I'm Keith.
I'm still Janie.
See you next week.
Bye.
Return of the pod.
Return of the King.
That never-ending story that is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Wait, we're doing never-ending story?
How do you stop it?
You don't. That's the thing. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going and going.
Do not come.